Bob Thomason here. I'm going to start this morning with a recipe. If I can get my recipe to come up here. That involves apples. Got 4 Granny Smith apples this morning. The recipe calls for 3 stalks of celery, but the way I cut my celery up, I don't have it in stalks, so I use a little scale here to weigh it. So I've got the celery measured out. 1 lemon, and this time I will peel the lemon. I'll wash it and peel it much like I do the oranges when I use them. And spinach. It also calls for 2 kale leaves. I don't have any kale. I didn't have that available to me, so I'm going to do this juicing without the kale. We'll see how that goes. Now, one of the ways I like to do the spinach as well, and you can estimate all of this stuff by a handful, a bunch, whatever, but in this in this recipe here, it gives me an approximate weight that I need, so that makes it pretty easy for me just to take out spinach, particularly because it's very light and it's hard for me to estimate how much spinach I'm getting. But if I weigh it, then I can come up with a little better idea. And it's a little unwieldy to weigh this, but let's see if I can get it done. And spinach leaves don't go everywhere. That says 120, and I'm coming up with about 100, so I'm in good shape right there. But I'm going to do, in my juicing this morning, I'm going to juice the apples, celery, orange, or lemon rather, and spinach. And I've got to peel the lemon this time, which I don't normally do. I normally just take the lemon and throw it in there, rind and all. But they have some reason in this particular recipe to ask me to peel it. So I'm going to take the time to peel it and get it ready. I've got my juicer all cleaned up, ready to go. And I'll get this peeled. I've still got to wash my apples. Okay. The lemon is peeled, so we won't do the rind this time. Take the stems out of the apples best I can. And I'll be sure and take these stickers off of the apple. I don't particularly want to run these stickers through my juicer. Not a really good idea. Okay. So now I've got to just rinse the apples off. And these are Granny Smith apples, so these are rather large, and Granny Smith is going to have a little different flavor to my drink because I've been using Gala or Fuji apples for most of my recipes that I've done, most of the juicing recipes. But this time I'm not doing that. I'm using it called for Granny Smith. That's what I'm going to use, is some Granny Smith apples. So we'll see how this tastes. Get this back out of my way. Now when I'm juicing the spinach here, I'll need to bunch that spinach up, kind of wad it up, and put it in my juicer. Otherwise, it'll just kind of go through and it won't juice very well. Now, I'm using a centrifugal juicer in this case. If you're using a masticating juicer, then you would probably get a little bit more juice out of the spinach and it can be handled differently. But I'm using the centrifugal at this point. Go ahead and do everything on high as I've been doing. And I'm going to start with the spinach. And I'm going to take the spinach and bundle it up pretty tight. And I'm not using any, this recipe doesn't call for any carrot, which is unusual, because most of them, we've got some carrot involved, but this does not call for carrot. All right. Now these Granny Smiths are so large that they're going to have to be cut in two. And maybe in the fourth, looks like, just to get them in the juicer. So that's fine. And I'm not coring these apples either. I put core and all in there because we're juicing. Let's see how this goes. My Granny Smith's in there. Had to stop that for a moment. I want to get these apples cut up so that I can juice them. And I'm anxious to see how the Granny Smith apples change the flavor of this juice, because the Fuji apples or the Gala apples are pretty sweet. I mean, it tastes good. If you like a sweet mix, those are really good. Go through these a few at a time. This is a lot of apples too. And you notice, you may or may not have noticed, I'm going to wait and do the celery last, because I use the celery to make sure that all my fruit gets juiced up. Now we do the celery, the last part of it. Put all them in there together. definitely smell the celery in this mix. As you can see here, we've got about 30 ounces of mixture there. So take this and mix it up. And just pour it back and forth between this to get it mixed up pretty good. I want my mixture in there. It smells green. It definitely smells green. I can smell the celery for sure. Seems to have a hint of apple smell to it, but not a strong apple smell, not a sweet apple. But as I said, we're using Granny Smith apples in this. Pour just a little bit in a glass here, and we'll see how this tastes. And that's pretty good. Now, this is sweet, but it's not real sweet, and it has that Granny Smith tartness to it. Probably with a little bit of kale in here, you'd have a little bit more body to it. But this tastes pretty good. This is a winner.